This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. It is June 14th, 2025. Happy Flag Day, or should I say, Happy False Flag Day. As of me recording this video, there haven't been any false flags yet. But if you're paying attention to what the government's doing, they are certainly hoping for some type of an event to occur today on June 14th. We have all of the No Kings movement operations going on around the United States of America. In fact, if you go on websites like CNN, right on their main page, they're pretty much advertising for this movement. Now, if you were going to get something up on a website like CNN, wouldn't you have to pay a lot of money to advertise an event? If we were going to have, say, a movement where we were all going to wake people up to the left-right paradigm, to all of these government operations, to secret societies, etc., probably cost us a lot of money. Of course, we know they would never allow some type of a banner ad or something promoting an event we were actually doing to be on the website, but no worries. They're promoting the No Kings protests. In fact, they're encouraging you to participate in the No Kings protest. The question really is, where, oh where on this wonderful map will our false flag events actually occur? And if you're not paying attention to the psychosis, let me show you how this is working on civilians out there, because that's pretty much what the government uses social media sites like Twitter and Facebook for. We might as well use them for the same thing and look around and see what people are saying, because they're telling us their every thought. Here's TJ Radway. Hey guys, tomorrow is No Kings Day protest against President Trump, but I'm warning you, do not watch Trump's military parade. Turn the TV off and do something. Get out there, participate. And that's how this whole operation works. The government creates these operations, the No Kings movement. They plan them. You think that these people on their own are independently strategizing and organizing and getting boots on the ground to go and protest Donald Trump's birthday? Or do you think the government's organizing? Well, of course the government's organizing it, but from there, the government uses mind control to get you to participate in these things, like showing you maps, telling you, hey, you know, it's going to be a couple towns away. You know, here's the closest gas station for you to go get gas. Hey, you know, they're also giving out free sodas there too. You might as well run by there and then head over to the No Kings movement. These people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to, on my own free will, I'm going to go to the No Kings movement. Nobody is manipulating me into participating in this. This is me independently thinking. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the great American experiment that we're living in. So we have all of these events occurring around the US, but it gets better because we also have Donald Trump's birthday on June 14th. And how is he celebrating his birthday? He's celebrating it with tanks, helicopters, and a military parade to mark the 250th birthday of the U.S. Army. So another potential location for an event. In fact, even places like Michigan, who are promoting their own protests, 70 protests set to unfold in Michigan. Here's where they are. Prepare for chaos. Come on down. Hey, you might get run over by a car, but you should come and participate because you need to be an activist. You know, scream and yell and psychologically get invested in these things. And then, of course, nothing ever comes of it except, of course, what the government wants to come of it, which they convince you is for your best good. Problem, reaction, solution. And speaking of maybe getting hit by a car today, the best one out there potentially in baiting people to pretty much create order out of chaos on their own without even needing the government to put agents in place is Ron DeSantis telling people in Florida that they can hit protesters if they feel the need to flee for their safety. Listen to Ron DeSantis talk about and encourage people in Florida, if they see these No Kings protests, which again, remember the red states and the blue states, right? They consider Florida the numero uno red state these days, along with Texas. So they want everyone there to be angry. We don't want these No Kings movements in our states. We're a red state, right? So then DeSantis says, well, they're going to participate here in Florida. They're going to be doing the No Kings movement events all around Florida. So, hey, you know, if you're in the area and you're trying to get to McDonald's and they're in your way, well, just run them over.
So if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you.
Governor Ron DeSantis there cracking down on potential non-peaceful protests. In a podcast earlier this week, the governor told Florida drivers that they can hit protesters if they need to, quote, flee for their safety. NBC6's political reporter Steve Litz explains the governor's stern warning.
The violence and protests in California prompted Florida's governor to go on the Rubin Report podcast with this message.
If you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you.
Ron DeSantis with a warning in advance of tomorrow's anti-Trump No Kings rallies.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Hundreds are planned nationwide and dozens are set to happen across Florida.
You still have an obligation to watch where you're driving.
Miami defense attorney Mark Aguilar has a concern about the governor's messaging. In 2021, the legislature passed the Combating Public Disorder Law, and that was in response to the Black Lives Matter protests after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. It enhances Florida's laws and penalties for protesters who engage in any type of violence. Aguilar says a driver hitting a protester would fall under the state's Stand Your Ground law.
The right to use deadly force in Florida only occurs when you reasonably fear death or great bodily harm. You don't get free rein to hit protesters just because they're around your vehicle.
You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
We will not be.
Organizers insist violence is not part of the protest plan.
If we are encountered with pro-Trump antagonists, we have de-escalators that will attempt to separate and not pay attention to these escalators.
The Torch of Friendship here in downtown Miami is one of the spots where protesters will be gathering, and counter-protesters, those in support of President Trump, may show up here as well. We know for certain plenty of police will be showing up.
So if that's not encouraging people to participate in these events, not only by showing up, like we see them telling people, show up here, show up there, come on down, right? There's one in every town in America, along with a Freemason lodge, of course. They're also telling you in red states, hey, if you run somebody over in Florida, if you hit a protester who's in your way, it's perfectly fine. Now, I don't support people protesting in the middle of the road, blocking highways, roadways. Of course, I don't condone that. But I'm also not encouraging people out there that if they see that when you're the governor of a state and you tell the people out there, hey, if they're in your way, you feel free. We're, freedom state, defend yourself state, run them down with your car. You got to be kidding me, right? And the people who hear that, they just go, yeah, that's cool. Forget those libs who are going to be protesting. We'll run them over with our cars because Ron DeSantis says we're going to get a get out of jail free card if we do so because, we have rights too. And then they tell you, well, if you feel like it's a threat that somebody is protesting in the road, use your car as a weapon, right? And that also, of course, will add into some of the other movements that we have going on, like the removal of human beings driving cars, going to autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles, which they're going to, of course, use mind control to tell you is safer and safer. So there's a lot of benefits for Ron DeSantis to be promoting that on the Rubin Report, which, by the way, when we talk about the cringe of the alt-right media, there's lots of bad ones. We got Shapiro, the Russell Brands, Charlie Kirks. This guy's also one of these alt-right shills who also loves to pack the fudge, as I guess most of these alt-right media clowns really do in private anyway. So Ron DeSantis is encouraging people to run over protesters if they get in their way. According to some of the articles that are out there, it says the thousands of Floridians are expected to march in the No Kings National Day of Defiance on Saturday, and they better be on their best behavior, said Ron DeSantis. He said that drivers will not be at fault if they hit protesters that block roadways. In a clip that you saw from the Rubin Report, he said you have a right to flee for your safety, and if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the street. So according to this new anti-riot law, legal experts are saying that this is actually true. One of the main concerns of elected leaders who unsuccessfully fought the anti-riot bill 4 years ago say the bill is way too vague. Can an individual who is just standing there and something breaks out be arrested? Is an individual able to run over a protester? Though concerns still exist, some of the key components of the bill were muted by the courts after being challenged by the ACLU of Florida, the Community Justice Project, and other First Amendment right groups. Florida Supreme Court essentially shut down the state from labeling peaceful protesters as rioters, which would have allowed for a plethora of criminal charges. A federal court had later ruled peaceful protesters could face criminal charges if their protests turned violent. Right, and that's exactly what all of this is. They have agents in place, okay, at these events. They want you to show up at these events. They encourage you to. Then the agents in place are the ones who create the chaos. Light a building on fire, punch somebody in the face, attack a police officer. And then while you're standing there thinking that you're at a peaceful protest, suddenly you're getting rounded up like cattle by your military because the National Guard end up showing up and you get arrested for it. And then you get put on a list. That's what this is. People out there just don't seem to get it. They think that these things are organically occurring. Look how many events there are on that map. You think organically, all of these people in this world today, where most of these people don't even know how to tie their own shoes, most of these people can't take a piss without the Alexa participating and helping them figure out how to do it, that they can organize, strategize, figure out where to do it, have permits or whatever else they might possibly need. Maybe you don't need permits in place, but there's certainly certain places that you won't be able to protest. There's certain venues that they can't show up at. So they've organized this entire thing. They picked a time. They've marketed this. How? Oh, they've marketed this through the mainstream media because the mainstream media is the only one who's telling you about it. If the mainstream media didn't bring up the No Kings movement, nobody would know it was even taking place, which is how government ops work. Because if any regular civilian, like I said earlier, wanted to start some type of peaceful protest, there would be minimal participation because nobody would find out about it. Unless you had millions of dollars and could air commercials during Monday Night Football or during the basketball playoffs or whatever's on that year or that day, that week, to get people involved in it. This is nationwide preparedness, organized strategically, black ops. So they'll get agents in place at one of these locations. There's going to be agents in place. Just like January 6th, agents in place. They created the event. People showed up. There was regular civilians who were participating, not having a clue that was a setup all along so that they could round people up and arrest them, right? And again, this is what your government does. This is what your tax money funds. It's a psychological op. You saw the guy I showed you earlier in the video. He's like, don't even turn on Trump's military parade. Turn the TV off, right? So Trump's going to have a military parade on his birthday, and we're going to have about 1,000 of these events occurring around the U.S. on Flag Day of all days. How much more in your face can it get? Now, I'm not guaranteeing there'll be a false flag, but let's be real. It's going to be all over the news, any type of chaos that erupts, and they're going to be the ones who are the provocateurs. They're going to be the ones who promote it, who start something in a crowd. That's how it works, and then they get you to participate in it. And then, of course, in a state like Florida, like I just showed you, then you have the flip side, right? In a state that's a red state, where people are like, I don't want these protests in my state. We're all conservatives down here. We're all Trump. We're all MAGA down in Florida. Oh, well, guess what? Your governor is telling you that you could run people over if you feel threatened. Well, define feeling threatened. Does it mean that somebody has to be reaching through your window, trying to pull you in the streets, as he said? Have we ever even seen something like that before? What have we seen protests where somebody has been pulled or dragged out? It must have strong hand. They're breaking through the windows, dragging people out, right? You could define feeling threatened however you want in 2025. Just like these clowns try to define hate speech in 2025. Oh, you can't talk about that. You can't say that. That's hate speech. Oh, right. Oh, well, what can you say? Oh, but you can criticize a Christian and what they believe, or you could criticize somebody else if you don't like how they look, right? But it's only hate speech if it applies to the things you care about. Well, what's the difference with threats? Define a threat. You can look at somebody and feel threatened. People make eye contact. Like, I feel threatened by the way this guy's looking at me. We've heard stories about that before. Oh, this person looked at me the wrong way. I felt threatened. This person made a sound. I felt threatened, right? So you're pretty much encouraging people, if they see these protests, to drive a car through it. Like some of the other false flag events we've seen over the last couple of years, which, well, conveniently involve people driving cars through crowds and were also false flags. Like Charlottesville, for example, or any of the other protests that have happened over the last 4 to 8 years since Trump has showed up, where we're seeing people use cars as a weapon. And of course, it serves multiple purposes as well. Cars as a weapon has been a theme for a little while now. We've even heard terror groups using trucks as weapons, driving through crowds, Christmas parades, cars driving. That's all the subplot of it is about getting you in an autonomous vehicle as well. So it works perfectly for them. Why not kill two birds with one stone or create two false flags with one douchebag being Ron DeSantis. So we could obviously see, and some of these places, they say the riots or the protests are going to continue on. Then you, of course, get the arguments of what's a peaceful protest versus a non-peaceful protest. These are all things that are going to be removed. Even protesting isn't going to be allowed in the future. Take a look at 1984. You might get your 10 minutes of hate where you could yell and scream at a TV monitor, but to be able to go places and have a difference of opinion, they're morphing human behavior. Okay, they're going to make sure that you're not opposed to the things that they're doing because they're going to convince you of some of the sickest stuff that they do in secret that it's actually a good thing for society, like drinking the blood of the youth. Eventually, you think that people out there are going to go, oh my gosh, I can't. They're eventually going to get so twisted that they're going to say that's a great thing. It's beneficial to your health. It could solve cancer. It could anti-age you. You could live longer, right? This is all mind control experiment that you're seeing take place. It's a perfect example. Perfect example, because nobody thinks further than, well, who's organizing? Oh, they go to the website. They click the About Me, and they're like, oh, here's who's doing it. Oh, yeah, Jane Doe, John Doe, George Glass, yeah, Mary Jane. Who else? Who else is there who's organizing it? Of course, they're not going to tell you who's really organizing it. You look around you at the world we live in, most of these people who are Antifa, et cetera, they think that they're independently doing these things, that they could actually think for themselves, let alone plan this. You gotta be joking me if you think people in 2025 can even plan or strategize organized events. And then on top of it, even if you want to believe that that's possible, why would the government not be interfering in this, shutting down the website, stopping the movements from happening if they feel like there's going to be false flags? Oh, because it's a violation of the First Amendment, right? But I guarantee you, I would bet my life if any of us started a movement where we were going to get 10,000 people, say 10,000 people watch these videos, to show up outside of DC, to expose the CIA, to expose everything that's really going on. You think they'd allow us to show up there? We'd either get arrested beforehand because they'd say, oh, they were planning on a dangerous terror event outside of DC, and you'd sit there and you'd say, no, we were just going to plan a peaceful protest. They say, no, it wasn't going to be peaceful because you guys yell and scream online and you're anti-government, right? Well, these people are all anti-government according to their definition of it. No, they don't like Trump. Oh, I guess they don't like their government. Oh, but it's okay for them to do it because, of course, order out of chaos is what is needed and required to bring about this new world order. And it's happening day in and day out. And people out there can't think further than they can spit. I mean, just think about the map. Think about the stuff I said. These are all common things that people should be thinking. Why are they promoting this on CNN? Why are they promoting it on NBC? Would you have ever heard about it if the news didn't promote it? No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. So what does the right look at? They go, oh, the libs want to get all the libs to show up at the event. Well, how do they know that the people organizing it and at all these events, are they safe? You're promoting it and telling people where to go. How do you know there's not a bomb there or something else there, right? Oh, blood's going to be on your hands. They're promoting it because they're designed to promote it. They try to get you to willingly participate in these events. And then when they create the false flag at these events, you're there. And so are other people. And you're on a list. And now you're being monitored and tracked. And a lot of you are going to be arrested if you actually show up. But these people actually think that they're making a difference, which shows you how deep the psychosis is. They couldn't be making less of a difference. The government wants you to participate in these events. It works to their advantage. The only thing that they don't want is an actual revolution, which nobody seems to actually think is necessary. They think showing up with a sign that says "No Kings" is really going to change the way that the world is. It's really going to stop Donald Trump, and then the Republicans just get angry that people are protesting Donald Trump, and that's all they care about. They care about their team, their left-wing team or their right-wing team. Same team working together to keep the people divided as they continue to strip us of our rights. So it's Flag Day, but it's more like false Flag Day. We'll see what comes of it. At the very least, if there isn't a major one, you're definitely going to see a lot of stories of chaos and riots and windows being smashed. And of course, all the people who will be doing that will actually be government operatives because that's how this whole operation does work. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.